tip, I think, are combinations. Add them to your flight. You know, going one maneuver to the other just makes sense, and it makes everything look a little more controlled, a little more professional, a little more deliberate, and all those things that helps you look like a better pilot. Again, if I do 2 points to inverted and then start rolling Harrier, that's a combination. And combinations are really a lot more impressive. And almost any maneuver can incorporate a combination. So these combinations are important, whether you are in, tumbling or up high or doing stop rolls or anything like that. Combinations really look good. I know I keep saying I have favorite tips, but here's another one. The other tip is to put diversity into your flying. I've seen so many 3D pilots, especially with FOAMYs, they go up, they learn to roll, so they just roll for 7 minutes, and all variations of a roll. So why not pick 3 or 4 things you do well with your routine and give the audience a break? They can't watch the plane rolling constantly for 7 minutes. If I want to do rolling maneuvers that I think are cool, like something like this where I'm rolling in a circle, then I'm going to stop. I'm going to go up, now maybe come across and do some tumbling. It's all just varying it. Or maybe after doing some violent tumbles or hovering or something like that, maybe just do a nice long slow roll. It just is really good for the audience to just vary what they're seeing, and again, it makes you also look more versatile and more confident. I think that stuff is as impressive in its own way as some of the cooler stuff that you do. The fact is, this tip is make sure your airplane is set up properly, and as obvious as this sounds, it's ignored, and I'm not quite sure why, but it is. So for every one pilot that it's really set up well, there's 3 pilots that, they're set up, they fly, they do things, but it's a lot more challenging to fly the maneuvers if the plane isn't set up properly or balanced properly. They're trying to fly a plane that's tail heavy, or there's so many ways you cannot set it up well. My tip is make sure it's balanced, make sure the travel adjusts are set properly, and make sure you have an adequate amount of Expo. This is a tip I really love because it involves practice and using light foamies to hone your skills. This is my Wargo Yak that came out a few years ago, and I designed it and wanted it to be out there because it's a good plane to practice with and to hone your skills. You don't have to worry about it hitting the ground or breaking so much, easily glued back together, and basically give you a little courage to do some things, but also it's a very good vehicle to practice because they're a little lighter and don't require quite as much reflexes and skill as a heavier balsa model. But I just love them, and I wish that all of you would try to incorporate flying foamies into your enjoyment of the sport. This tip is a little different. This isn't exactly to tell you to practice, which of course I believe that is a wonderful idea, but this is to practice a Harrier. Forward and back, you can see how I went from a Harrier into this hover. A Harrier is not just a trick on its own, it's an important transitional maneuver. As you can see here, just flying around in Harrier looks very cool, but to keep the hover close to the ground, I started in a very low Harrier, and this maneuver must be rehearsed. It has to be an important part of your arsenal that is very well rehearsed. You see how I started this rolling Harrier at exactly the same altitude? That is, and even the rolling part is also completely connected to my throttle management that was learned while learning to Harrier and practicing the Harrier. Do it inverted and do it upright, and do it often. Again, the reason I preach the Harrier is because it is such a vital skill to have, and it connects to almost everything 3D. So work on it.